only the EST, right? Okay. So by today, by this week, we will finish the last topic that will be tested for the MST, part 1 test. Okay, so this will be the last topic for the part 1 test. Okay, are we all ready? Okay, so altogether there will be 5 topics. Cool. There will be 5 topics for the part 1 test. It's held during the MST. So for convention, I just use the word MST. It is not the MST paper, it's part 1. It's 30%, right? So the part 1 test will only cover the topic we have learned so far until specialty. So this is the last metal. So next part 2 will consist of non-metal. This metal. We have gone through aluminium metal. We have gone through titanium. Still got a lot of background sound. We have gone through superalloy, and now we want to finish up with special steel. From year 1, year 2 and onward, and until today, you can see that you have been exposed to steel. Steel is the very first engineering metal. So it has been with us for many years, and still got some background sound. As I said, very difficult for me to compete with 120 of you. Now, so is it still relevant? Right? It's a very old metal. People think that is depending on how you look at it. Obviously, in order to make it relevant, we need to do something. We need to upgrade, right? Including myself. Everybody needs to upgrade as we move along. We know that steel, as I said, steel you have already gone through in your year 1, in the very first, second topic of year 1, plain carbon steel, right? So until today, it's still relevant. Obviously, when we move along, we need to do something about it. Why is it that it's still relevant? It is relatively cheap. We can make special steel, alloy steel we call it, so that it's stainless. So steel itself, initially, very cheap, very limited property, but we do some adjustment in the chemistry, right? We're able to use it in a variety of applications. So now in aircraft, we still use it. Of course, we use it where space is limited. Landing gears, right? Shaft and so on. No point using titanium, too expensive. And when you talk about the absolute strength, steel is even better, very high strength. And you can see that, just to show you, in fact, you can see that there are applications that is not aerospace that actually make use of special steel. Alright? It's developed by Carpenter technology. This Carpenter technology involved in a lot of aerospace material, aerospace metal. Okay, so the key thing is that it's maybe solid. Solid means good in a certain sense. So good that we call it as, quite a number of years ago, the advertisement about army. They call it the steel within. They don't call it titanium, heavy. In the army, talking about titanium. Certain names still relevant. So when I look at it, I thought to tell you that don't dismiss steel. Wow, man of steel, man of titanium. Right? You see, until today, Superman, Iron Man. So the name, so it's just real steel and so on. So you can see that the word steel very old and yet is still relevant. Of course, in order to make it relevant, we need to do something. If you don't reinvent yourself, right, you will not be suitable. So I use the word special steel rather than call it alloy steel. The alloy steel you study, again, is quite limited, not used in aircraft. We need to do some adjustment in the chemistry. You can see that in the landing gear, we can use it. In the shaft. So in the engine compartment itself, right, we talk about super alloy, we talk about titanium. So the shaft itself, we don't need to use super alloy, we don't need to use titanium. We can use a good old steel. It's strong, it's rigid, and we can make it hollow. Right? And yet it's strong enough to withstand all the... It's small also, right? However, when we look at the aerospace application, we need to do some adjustment. So if we take it as what the existing steel, we are unable to use it. Right? As I said, metal material is everywhere. Right? You look at it, it is not restricted to one application. How you utilize it depends on what is the requirement. If the requirement is not met, you do some adjustment. If after several adjustments you cannot do it, of course we need to have some replacement. Okay? So material can be used, right? Even 1,000 years from now, it's still relevant. All the metal is there. Now, what is added? Now you can see that the shaft, the landing gear, we don't need to be ultra high strength. We just adequate strength. Right? That's why in the landing gear, right, they have certain hydraulic suspension, this and that, right, to absorb. So no point having ultra strength, that will cause high price, right? So you still have some suspension to take care of that. So adequate strength, when we talk about adequate, this is a key word. What is adequate? So we compare therefore in terms of most general definition, low, medium, ultra, right? So we are talking about ranging between that. So this ultra high strength, right? So steel can go into that. Ultra high strength. Oh, feedback. Adequate ductility, not a problem. Steel definitely have adequate ductility, right? More than adequate. Fracture toughness, this is a key thing. Impact toughness and fracture toughness, they are two different things. They are two different. We'll learn more on fracture toughness, measurement of fracture toughness, when we talk about part 2 topic. Right? They are different, impact toughness and fracture toughness. Fatigue resistant, I think all of you know, steel in fact have a fatigue limit. So to get adequate fatigue resistance, no problem. Corrosion resistant, yes, we are able to have it. So the only two things we are a bit concerned, right, is the adequate strength and the fracture toughness in particular. The rest still can do the job. Okay, so you look through that. Aluminum we have already gone through. That is, as I said, the two things that we are concerned with, right? Strength and toughness, right? Fracture toughness, not impact toughness. Fracture toughness is two things. So I use this. Look at the material that we have. Aluminum we've gone through, right? If you look at research, Google, whatever, this is the type of strength that you have. Toughness not even meet. Alright, strength. Titanium very good. Expensive, very expensive. The steel that we have that able to consider is that of austenitic stainless steel. Toughness okay, but strength not there. Alright, so we need to do something. So these two are special steel. So just looking at this, these are two special steel which we will be going through in this topic. So toughness, definitely quite good. In fact, the margin is even better. So these are the two. Right? So I classify this as special steel, right? These are the normal steel, alloy steel. So these are the conventional steel for a lot of application. Yes, we can use it. It has the strength. It has the toughness. So you can see that a lot of other application, connecting rod, shaft, not a problem. The problem is getting the combination of strength and toughness. Alright, so this is conventional steel, alright, alloy steel. A lot of alright, so there is very widely used for those car shaft and so on, right? So they have the adequate strength, toughness, but when you look at the way the combination of strength and toughness comes about, right? Obviously it's through the normal heat treatment process. Again, this one you should be familiar. So you can see that for the slide that I've gone through, some of it should be familiar. So just a recap, right? So what you did is that to get a combination of strength and toughness, you heat it up, you soak it, you quench it, right? You get martensite. Very hard, very strong, very brittle. But it will lead to cracking. So what we did, we do some tempering. Alright? So if you look at the one you study at, we either temper it, if we temper it below 200, 250, 200, okay, I put there a range 250 to, if we do it at less than 200, 250, you will merely reduce the residue strength without affecting the toughness, right? Still strong but very not tough. So usually we do it above around 400 and so to get a good combination of toughness. If you do it more than 600, you will lose all the strength and gain the toughness. So you do it at 200, 400, 600. That is normally alright? And you get the combination. But for special steel, if you do it between this range, you take a piece of metal, steel, you heat it up, you polish it, you do it at home. You polish it, you heat it up, the bluish color, spectrum of color, right? Around 300, 450, the bluish color will appear. You continue heating up to 600, you can see the first indication of reddish color will appear. Okay? So 400 plus, bluish color. 600 plus, you see the first reddish color. 800, right, is glowing red. So in the past, the blacksmith, they base on color. Then they start knowing what temperature to, what temperature, what color in order for them to start smashing, right, the blade, whatever, right? Okay, so that is the key thing, bluish color. The bluish color, we try to avoid. Something happened there. Okay, something happened. But if you don't do it within this range, you cannot get the combination of toughness and strength. You do it two below it, you got strength, no toughness. You do it above it, you got strength, and you got toughness, not adequate strength. So how to get this? That's the problem. So usually we don't play with this. Don't play with this, right? For other application, okay you have get the strength and the toughness, okay, right? More than 450, you got more toughness, at least you still got some strength. But you want to get the one suitable for aircraft, problem. So we want to look at this in greater detail. So this one, I think you should be familiar with. Again, I like to use a process chart to indicate. As far as the heat treatment is concerned, same thing, right now. You heat it up, you hold it, you quench it, you reheat it up, you hold it, you cool it. Different name is applied for steel, we call it hardening, tempering. And during the hardening, something happened, something nasty happened, right? Sometimes engineers, scientists are crazy. Take a hard and then quench it, the likelihood of cracking is there, right? So it forms very hard, and we call it martensite, right? and then distortion. When the thing that distorted, you want to undistort it. Very difficult because so hard. You can't even, right, to machine it back to the precision that's needed for aircraft component. Okay? For the case of aluminium, titanium, remember, we quench it is soft. So any distortion, we can still make it to the precision dimension because soft and ductile, right? The strength is gained later on in precipitation hardening, and the strength is gained at the low temperature. So the distortion that takes place in precipitation hardening is negligible, but this one is very significant. Alright, so we have a problem, Okay, and if you manage to overcome this, you have a second problem that gives us some difficulty, right? Temper brittleness. Okay, so you want to add around 250 to 450. So let's look at what's happening here. So this is a key thing: temper brittleness. Temper brittleness. The industrial, because of the bluish color, they call it blue brittleness. Bluish color, right? Okay, bluish color. This bluish color, I think some of you may have observed it. You know those metal strips that they tie things together. Those metal strips. Don't know whether you did observe or not. You know, metal strip. You look at it, bluish color, the strip, the metal strip, right? Now mostly they use those plastic to tie things, right? Some of it still metal strip, bluish color. So that is a key problem. So sometimes along the transportation can break, right? Okay, bluish color. How does it happen? Now this diagram you actually don't have, not needed, because we want to look at the red square, the red rectangle. Just to share with you what's happening. Now under normal, that's why in plain carbon steel, normal steel, nothing of this sort happens. You harden it, you got very high strength. The toughness, which is measured by reduction in area, alright, or the impact test is very low. High strength, low toughness, right? Now you are told in day one, when you talk about, you want to improve the toughness, you do tempering, right? Okay, the tempering will give rise to toughness, reduction in strength. That is the green line. If nothing happened, unfortunately for alloy steel, instead of increasing toughness, there is a drop in toughness in this range. So this region is called tempered brittleness. Those behind that, any problem? Okay, okay, so this is the key thing we'll look at it, right? So you have been told, of course 90% is correct. Okay, sometimes you have some that the strength come down, the toughness will go up during tempering, right now. It is true, majority of case. But in alloy steel, the strength go down, the toughness also go down at this temperature. So if it didn't go down, you have adequate strength, adequate toughness. But because it went down, you have adequate strength, but not enough toughness at this particular range, bluish color. Okay? Because as I said, this special case, right? That's why in your year one, we don't even bother to mention. But here you need to understand now what's happening. This is the detail that we want to look into. So after hardening, you quench it. You got martensite. What is martensite? What's martensite? Leadership, like, okay, that's an appearance, but what essentially is it? What does it contain? What happened? A steel contains iron plus carbon, right? When you quench it, you are actually trapping Same, you see, super saturated. So martensite is a super saturated solid solution. It is iron trapping carbon. Under normal situation, the iron, right, is BCC. The amount of carbon that can be inside is 0.02% carbon. At high temperature, it is FCC. It can trap 2% carbon. Alright, that's why the units are very important. So low temperature is actually BCC, right? We call it ferrite. It can only contain 0.02% carbon. So that's why we need to heat it up, become FCC. We call it austenite. It can trap 1.7% carbon. In fact, all the way up to 2%. So if you put 0.8% carbon, you quench it, you are actually putting excess carbon during quenching. So we call that as martensite. So it's trapped. So what we did is that we do tempering. So when we do tempering, we are asking the carbon to come out from the martensite to form carbide. Alright, to form cementite. Okay? So you allow that. So as the cementite start to form, generally it will attempt to go to the grain boundary. Alright? So when you go to the grain boundary, the strength drops but the toughness increases. Okay? So key thing is you want to remove the carbon which was trapped and allow it to migrate. Alright? That is where things get a bit tricky. So here you trap all the carbon. It gives you very little toughness, very high strength. Now we just focus on the toughness only. Strength not a problem, right? You trap it, you got very high strength. So we do tempering, the strength come down because we are sort of dispersing, right? We are getting rid of the carbon, right? So the strength come down. Okay, so the carbide start to form. So the toughness go up. But at this so the atom try to move at the same time the carbide. So take note that the carbide start to form. The carbide attempt to migrate itself. But at this particular junction, right, between this temperature, these two migrating species, right, interact. So one is trying to go there, the guy is stopping it. You got what I mean? So this interaction generate the temper brittleness. Alright? So remember the carbide is formed in the grain and they tend to move to the grain boundary, right? Yeah, during tempering. Okay? Now, if you have a low carbon, the carbide form will be very little. So you have, just like a highway, right? You have 4 lanes and 6 lanes. So you have a few cars, right? Not a problem. Everyone got lane to move, right? But if you have a lot, then it becomes congested. So this congestion is the one that gives rise to the interaction between them. So you have a lot of carbide, this one trying to move, interact. So if you have very little, this one moving, the other one no, that now might just avoid it, move separately. Okay? So under normal situation, the temper brittleness wouldn't exist. Alright, so each one has their own. Okay, the carbide form, nothing stopping, it just moves to the grain boundary, while the elongation, the toughness increases by generating what we call this, the packing density, right? Dislocation density. So each one has their own region to create their own, right? Without interaction. But if you are talking about a lot of carbide, right? Then the interaction will take place within that. So that's why you can see that if you do it at a lower temperature, there is no interaction. The carbide reduce, the carbide form go to the grain boundary without interacting with the this slash line, this one represent dislocation. This one is representing the carbide. So if you do it at this temperature, the carbide is still there, but the dislocation doesn't interact. If you do it above there, the carbide will not interact with the dislocation. It's only when you do it at this temperature will the two interact. You got me? So this interaction is the one that gives rise to tempered brittleness, that makes the toughness reduce. So if you overcome that, the toughness will continue to increase, right? So that is a key thing, right? So that is a key feature of tempered brittleness. Okay? So now, as a result of that, we need to do something, right? To get the correct combination. So that's why I said there's a alteration of the way the phase diagram works. Okay? So this, if you don't do anything, you need to do some chemistry, right? Okay? So now, we have many steel at our disposal. I think this one again, year 1, year 2, you learn, but we need to zoom down. Anything when we started, we need to have some basic understanding, right? So we need to zoom down and look at, you talk about plain carbon steel, alloy steel, high alloy steel, right? In high alloy steel, you talk about stainless steel, tool steel, right? I think you're year 1, isn't it? Okay, definitely we don't start with plain carbon steel. Plain carbon steel, the carbon too negligible. The carbide form is cementite. You can't even trap too much. Tool steel, wow, you get very hard, very strong, but no toughness at all. So the low alloy steel, again, this one we mentioned, right? You have an interaction problem. So therefore we need to start with the stainless steel. And remember, one of the requirements is oxidation, right? Alloy steel, it doesn't have oxidation, corrosion resistance, right? So that is a group we started with, stainless steel. Okay? So you must know the reason. So you have plain carbon steel, low alloy steel, high alloy steel is divided into stainless steel and tool steel, right? That was what you learned in your first year. Plain carbon steel, alloy steel. Alloy is high alloy, low alloy. Alright, low alloy is actually a replication of plain carbon steel, but do a job better. So plain carbon steel can rust, low alloy steel can rust. So we have high alloy steel divided into stainless steel and tool steel. Tool steel definitely out of question. Tool steel, right? Very hard, very brittle, lack toughness. So we have only one option, stainless steel. Okay? That's how we look at it.
The stainless steel is the coating only.
Huh?
Stainless steel is the coating only, right?
No lah.
The whole steel is stainless.
Yeah, supposedly, that's what you learn, right? Creating, putting.
Learn from year 1.
Year 1. Year 1 and I think year 2 also in corrosion, right? In corrosion. Okay, anyway, now in stainless steel, right? They are again subdivided into 3 groups. That's why I said you forgotten year 1, year 2 doesn't matter. Just right now. So many years ago, right now. Yesterday's thing we also forget already. Okay. That's why. So we have stainless steel. Stainless steel divided into 3 subgroups, right? It's subdivided into 3 groups: ferritic, martensitic, austenitic. The key thing we need to know is, of course, stainless steel is good, I work for roll, right? Okay. The other thing is you need to know about me. What is the requirement to make the steel stainless? What's the ingredient? Chromium, very important. Need at least 12%, right? We put in 16, not a problem. Right? So stainless steel, no need, just add chromium, good enough. But when you add chromium, alright, you give you a stainless property, but it gives you magnetism. The magnetism exists. Now aircraft doesn't like magnetism. Although now you have GPS in the net, you still have a backup compass, right now. You know what happened? What will magnet do to the compass? Instead of going north, you go south and shut down, right? 1980, I think you know the Korean airline, right? Was shut down, divert, compass error. It's a serious thing right up there. You don't know north, you must base on that, right? Sometimes GPS also fail. You need to, the compass never fail, but the earth magnetism is always there, right? Okay? So GPS sometimes the satellite go haywire problem. Compass is so if you just add in chromium, yes, it gives you stainless property, it satisfies the stainless requirement, but it does not satisfy the non-magnetic requirement. So we need to add another ingredient called nickel. We make it stainless steel, non-magnetic. So so you understand what I'm trying to drive the idea, right? We started with steel. From the 4 groups, we use stainless steel, right? From the stainless steel, we look at all the stainless steel, alright? And we need to start our development of special steel using austenitic stainless steel. And the austenitic stainless steel, the basic ingredient is, of course, iron is there, right? That's the main metal. Chromium, nickel, and very low carbon. Very low carbon. That was initially the composition, the ingredient inside austenitic. So you have this nickel, very important. You need at least 8%. This one you need at least 12%. Now, what does low carbon means? Means that it's not heat treatable. Anyway, the requirement is not for heat treatment, but austenitic is not heat treatable. The requirement is you want it non-magnetic and highly corrosive resistant. It has the highest corrosion resistant. Very highly corrosion resistant, right? Okay? Yes. In fact, this is the only one that you can store those liquid. With this, right, it doesn't have a problem of ductile brittle transition problem. Anyway, okay? So we started with that. So this one I just summarized to you how, in a layman term, as simple as possible, how we adjust it, right? So that's why I sort of highlighted certain very key ingredients. We use austenitic, you need nickel. So with the addition of nickel, later on we'll see, nickel will depress, will lower. Now, just a reminder, steel is an allotropic metal. Same as titanium. Okay, for those who attended the lab, right? So, I think during the titanium was also mentioned, right? So, above 910, if it is pure iron, right? Above 910, it is FCC. Below 910 is BCC, right? For the case of steel. Alright? If you want austenite, you need to add some austenite stabilizer. We have alpha stabilizer, beta stabilizer, right? This austenite stabilizer. Nickel is the one. You add nickel in, you bring austenite down to room temperature, and now you make it non-heat treatable. Okay? Strength is not there.
Below is 9 BCC.
We don't have adequate toughness, no strength at all. So we need to do some
This is
adjustment.
for steel, right?
So take note, you can see from here, we use the austenitic. We still retain the low carbon, but we are going to put in precipitation element. And you realize this very important element, aluminium. Nickel, aluminium form gamma prime. It's superalloy, right? Nickel, chromium form gamma prime, FCC. Austenite is also FCC. So they match. So this development of gamma prime was started in superalloy, And we notice the beauty about this gamma prime, and we adopt it in precipitation hardened stainless steel. See, so we borrow it there, just much. Okay, and later on, we don't want, no need to have that. We have very low carbon. This one expensive, and we use more nickel to form the precipitate itself. Okay, let's go through looking at the chemistry. So there's some chemistry, not too much. It's not a chemistry course. Again, just revisit the iron carbon phase diagram. This is iron carbon phase diagram, right?
Two elements that form gamma prime. And then
So you
gamma
can see
prime
from
is
here,
FCC. And then your austenite is
at
also
high
FCC.
temperatures,
Both are FCC.
you got gamma austenite. That's why we prefer to use symbol. All the austenite, ferrite get confused.
For what's that?
We
AZ,
use gamma, right? FCC. Below it is alpha. We call it ferrite, isn't it?
I don't fully get it.
I get it.
Alright? Okay, this will give me corrosion resisting, very high corrosion resisting. This will also render it non-magnetic. So this is a more preferred for aircraft. Okay, very highly corrosion resistant. So therefore we do something to bring this temperature down. Alright? Okay, to further ensure that it's stainless, we add in chromium. Okay, see, stainless steel already 100 years already, You can research it online. It started 100 years, So just celebrated the. So these two very important elements, chromium, nickel, right? These two. So let's pay attention to this. Chromium. We added chromium. Why do we add chromium? To make sure that it is stainless. Alright, to make sure it's stainless. Alright? That's why I'm going to. So temperature against chromium. In other words, you take iron, you add chromium in. Alright, and you can see that you need at least around 12%, maybe the 12, the way I 13, we put it more than that. So this portion here will give me, you need at least 12% to give me stainless property, right? Stainless property, Less than 12% you will not get stainless property. But the implication of adding 12% chromium is that it stabilizes alpha. It makes alpha stable. Okay. That's why I really want you, it's a difficult topic, right? Okay, so you get stainless property, but you produce alpha, you stabilize alpha. It's just an alpha stabilizer, beta stabilizer in titanium. Now, our aim is not only stainless, we want it to be non-magnetic right now. So we need to make sure that it is stainless and yet it's gamma. But we have no choice, we need stainless chromium. So to counteract this, we add nickel. You see, at least 8% nickel, then you bring the austenite down. So you leave the chromium to do the stainless property, you adding nickel to bring, so that to introduce, to make sure that the austenite is present. The more you add, the more you stabilize by at least 8%. Alright? Okay, now a lot of stainless steel, we add in 10%. In the past it was 18% chromium. If you look at your stainless steel, those product, right, those teapot, sometimes they put a stamp there. Of course now they use modern symbol, 316. They put a stamp there, 18/8. 18 means 18% chromium, 8% nickel. But if you look at the newer one, they put there 10% nickel. Slightly more expensive, but higher, better corrosion resistant. So minimum 12% chromium, right? The more, of course, better lah. Money only, right? And nickel, you need at least 8%. So now the modern one, they add it 10%. In the past, they keep it cheap, right? Okay, so with the combination of these, right, you will now have austenite resisting stainless steel, which is austenite at room temperature, isn't it? So you get that. Wow, going to be more confusing now. Just 2 elements only, So, just a recap, you add chromium in. Don't have to remember the phase diagram, but when you look at this phase diagram, the thing is that you need to know some number. You need to know As I said, you need at least 12% chromium. So, if you add in chromium, right, you can see that it will become stainless, but you will produce this a lot, right? Okay, that's a key thing you need to know. Okay? And to ensure that we want this, we add at least 8%. Remember, you are not throwing away the chromium, The chromium is still there, Alright? So you have stainless steel, austenitic, chromium plus nickel. If you add chromium alone, it will be stainless steel. Non-magnetic, magnetic doesn't matter for application. Right? You go to IKEA, a lot of stainless steel, very cheap, Ferritic one, you put a magnet there, you stick it there, it's magnetism. This one very expensive, Okay. So ferritic one is cheaper, right? This austenitic is more expensive. So all the food processor, right, storing the container using metal container, it must be austenitic. Sometimes the inspector, MOM, go about checking, they just bring a magnet, see whether it is magnetism or not. So if the food seller, they use that, storing all the food, all the pots, right, stainless steel pot, and then it's magnetism, and they hand it already. It's a requirement, non-magnetic. The MOM finds it. Because once you have austenitic, non-magnetic means that the hot stuff, whatever food, whatever sauce, whatever, it will withstand all the corrosion. Food stuff, right? All the sauce, all the chili sauce, ketchup is corrosive, Right? You need that to store. Otherwise, when you eat, food poisoning. Okay, coming to this. This one requires some really tremendous understanding. As I said, right? Just now was not the main thing, The main thing just now, the thing that just now I mentioned is that we have austenitic stainless steel, right? This is the end game or not end yet, It's just that we use that attempt to create, we have to start that to create special steel for aircraft, right? So just now the one, how many slides, it's not the end game yet, the end, this is just the beginning. So what we did is that we have now got the austenitic stainless steel. We are going to use that now to attempt to create special steel that is suitable for aircraft, isn't it? So remember, austenitic stainless steel is not suitable yet. It has the toughness, but no strength. The only good thing about austenitic is that it is non-magnetic. It has very good corrosion resistance. Right? Toughness, you got, but strength completely out. On top of that, it is not heat treatable. Okay? But we are going to use that as a base starting to create precipitation hardened stainless steel. Alright? So what we did is that the ingredient very important, Alright? So to create this, the carbon still low. But what happened? We reduce the nickel. We incorporate aluminium. Very important, huh? Very important, huh? Why do we reduce nickel? Chromium, as I said, 12% is good enough, right? Okay, we can reduce it. Okay, this one give me a status property. This one supposedly give me the austenite, right? So now we reduce it, you know. We add in this. Okay, these two very important, huh? Yeah. Okay, why do we reduce the nickel? Chromium, as I said, you can reduce it. Okay lah, reduce, but the more you reduce the chromium, the less stainless it will be. So you try not to reduce the chromium. Nickel, actually you don't want to reduce that, but you have to reduce because of certain reasons which I need to mention now. Now you add chromium, you add nickel, you will reduce the MS line. This is something you learn in your year 1, year 2, MS line. If you've forgotten, time to recapture the time to put on the thinking camera, right? Okay? Now when you put in, that's why we have very low carbon. We have very low carbon. We have chromium, okay, give me a stainless property. We add in nickel in order to give me austenite. But because of this, the MS and the MF is being drastically lowered to below, way below room temperature. That's why you heat up the austenite, you quench it, nothing happened. Because the MS has been lowered a lot down. So what we do is that we want to reduce the nickel so that the lowering is less drastic. Alright? Remember, we want to do heat treatment. If you put too much nickel, you lower the MS so that when you do hardening, it's very difficult. So we reduce some nickel, we are going to raise the MS temperature. Alright? But even raising the MS temperature is still not enough. We need to do something. We need to form carbide to further raise the temperature. Now this temperature is way below the room temperature. You got me? Alright? It's way below room temperature. That's why there is a process called sub-zero treatment, right? I think all of you heard, right? Sub-zero, very good academically. Practically, nobody do it. Liquid nitrogen is not something you play with, right? Okay, so you do double temperature, triple temperature. Okay, so you can do that. You can do heat treatment by sub-zero, but dangerous. Why is it dangerous? Because heat treatment process, the environment is not clean. You are not working in a very clean, super clean, debris here and then. If you spill some liquid nitrogen, you are in trouble, isn't it? Okay. Theory is very good. Practice people do this. So you do double temperature. Anything up there? So the thinking, we lower the nickel to give me austenite, but make heat treatment impossible. So we remove some nickel, at least raise the MS line. It's still below room temperature, but at least we raise it some. So the other thing to further raise it is to create chromium carbide. To create chromium carbide so as to further raise the MS temperature to allow it to be heat treatable. So that is the principle behind precipitation hardened stainless steel. Better approach is to really reduce the carbon content, make ultra pure iron. Make ultra pure iron. Reduce the carbon content. So this is a principle. This is the philosophy behind PHSS. Lowering carbon is the principle behind bar raging steel. So this one, carbide formation
Oh.
to make it heat treatable. This one, ultra pure iron. That means getting rid of carbon to give me precipitation hardening. Now, some of you may think that hey, this one better lah. Purifying thing very expensive You got me? Extracting So on theory again very nice Wow, 0.02. But to get rid of thing it's not easy. Because Singapore took so many years quite good the new water, right? You must make sure it's super clean otherwise you drink It's not easy, Seriously, it's not easy, right? They are going to increase the production so that by 2030, I think you have 55% is new water. And then sometimes you are different. That's right. When it was created, it was big, laughed at, especially across the country. Okay? So this is the key thing, So we are going to use carbide, chromium carbide, to raise, or we are going to use carbon. So okay, I'll stop here. We'll finish up on Thursday, right? We'll finish up everything, how the two difference.
I don't understand. Next time I don't understand.